Welcome to another episode of Unleash the Hero Within. And today, I am again in the beautiful city of Setubal, Portugal. And once again, I find myself talking to the legendary Conrad Harvey, also known as the Disco Viking. Now, I say the word again because I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago and everything went wrong. I had 2 SD cards to record everything, but it was not there. It was a bloody nightmare. So, luckily, Mr. Harvey is a very patient man, and he said, Marcel, please come again. Conrad, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, man. Thank you for being here again. So, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling sufficiently used in my soul and body. I had a good, productive, full day.
Okay.
And this is just the cherry to finish it off. So.
Okay. I'm going to have a nice, relaxed conversation about life in Setubal and see where it will lead us.
Yes, sir.
So, for the people who don't know you yet, who are you? But more importantly, who would you like to become?
I am Conrad the Disco Viking. Who am I? That's an excellent question that I think you could spend a lot of time on. But essentially, I am a voice actor and musician, songwriter. The lion's share of my income comes from doing commercials and documentary voiceovers for people in the U.S., Portugal, other places. And then my primary career, as I see it, is music. And I'm blessed and lucky enough to have situated my life that that's all I do. So I'm a professional musician and actor.
And you live here in Setubal, Portugal.
And I live in paradise.
You live in paradise, exactly. So speaking of paradise, why did you move to Setubal and when was this?
Well, why I moved to Setubal is probably a part of answering the other question, which was who do I want to become? So I moved to Setubal. Well, basically, I had a band in the United States that was killer. I mean, just with Mikey Marrero, Chaz Harris, and Alex Kalachinsky. We were called Trismalux. And it was just a machine. I mean, musically was one of the best things I've ever done. We didn't quite have commercial success, and I was trying to push us to move to LA. We were in North Carolina for the duration of our musical lives. Mm-hmm. And one thing led to another, and we ended up breaking up after a few years. And I was going to move to LA by myself. Which is a good place to be professionally if you're a musician and an actor. But I had been coming to Portugal every year since 2017 to a film festival in Sesimbra called Finisterra Arrábida. Shout out to Carlos. Actually, you should meet him one of these days. But, you know, it was the first time that I ever had a vacation in my adult life, and hotel on the beach in Sesimbra in Portugal. It's really corny, but I drove from Spain with the filmmaker. The reason I was at the film festival is we won some awards for a film that I narrated, and I had this long conversation with the director about life and God and all these things, and he was joshing me for believing in God, for lack of a better term, sort of agnostic. Mm-hmm. Anyways, it's so funny and corny, but I got to the hotel not really knowing what to expect. It was late at night. I come out and have you been to Sesimbra?
Yeah.
So I come out and I see Sesimbra for the first time, and it's moonlit, and it's just gorgeous. I have a balcony overlooking the bay, and it's just... So I fall to my knees, being the dramatic princess that I am. I outstretch my hands and say, I don't care what they say, I believe in you. And a shooting star went between my hands at that moment.
Really?
Yeah, it was really beautiful, but I was kind of like, that's kind of corny, God. I mean, I believe in you, but that was a bit much, No, but it was that was my first hour in Portugal.
Wow.
So I kept coming back year after year to this festival for various reasons. And every year that I came, I stayed longer. First it was 1 week, then the next year 2 weeks. And in 2019, I just had such a absurdly good experience. I was here for 3 weeks, and so when my band broke up, the only reason I was staying in North Carolina was for the band. I was like, I'm gonna move somewhere, and I felt the pull to LA, but I decided to, on a whim, to come to Portugal. That's kind of a longish answer to why I'm in Setúbal, but why Setúbal specifically is because I met a filmmaker named Antonio Aleixo, who at Finisterra Rábida in 2018, and I was going to move to Lisbon, and he talked me into Setúbal instead. So yeah, but in that so that's why I came to Setúbal. It was basically I'd talked to this Portuguese actress named Cristina Basílio and asked her if I should, weighing my options, because she's an actress in Portugal, my options between LA and Setúbal, and she basically said, come to Portugal for your life, go to LA for your career, and I chose my life. And it was it couldn't have been better timing, because I moved here in February 2020.
Oh, great timing.
And no, it was good for me because I was going to move to LA.
Oh, yeah.
LA.
That would have been worse. Yeah.
Horrific,
Yes. Yeah.
So during the pandemic, at least.
Yeah, sure.
And I love California, but they really, it's another story for another day. But so yeah, essentially I moved to Setúbal for my life, but effectively who I want to become, I moved to Portugal to become a rock star and a movie star. And it's totally ridiculous. But my whole life has been ridiculous up to this point, so why not continue
it fits.
the absurdity? Yeah.
Okay. So how's the rock star thing going?
It's a grind, man.
It's a grind, yeah.
Excuse me. I've been making music since I was 14. I've been recording records since I was 15.
Wow.
So I've recorded, I don't know exactly how many albums, but many hundred, maybe 1,000 songs.
Really, yeah?
Or more. Yeah, but a lot of them are terrible. So, and I started playing in bands when I was 20 years old, and I'm 31 now, and I've just never stopped.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a grind.
It's a grind.
But if it was easy, then everybody would do it, right?
Exactly.
So,
Is there a lot of competition in the music industry over here in Portugal?
well, there's a lot of phenomenal talent.
Okay.
I've tried to break out of the only person I'm competing with is myself. So, excuse me. That's bad rehearsal techniques. I'm clearing my throat, all this. But yeah, I mean, there's incredible talent here. But I try to, as with any business anywhere in the world, you want to create a category of one. So there's a lot of great stuff going on, but I don't know if I would call it competition. There's a lot of great artists here. There's a lot of great festivals. So I think there's work for most people. Mm-hmm. But I don't think anybody's going to be doing what we're going to be doing.
You got to find your niche, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Excuse me. There we go. That's better.
Okay. Back in the game.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you've been living here now for over 2 years.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you like Setúbal, or otherwise you would have left. So are there any favorite places that you discovered over here in Setúbal? Any favorite bars or restaurants that you really like?
Yeah, but I can't spoil it to the world, man.
No, but you can give them
if I
try
open
that bar and have great cocktails or whatever.
Right. But see, this is a delicate dance, right?
Oh.
Because if you oversell it, then you ruin the place, right?
Okay.
No, there's probably, I'll give you a couple gems.
Right.
Probably one of my favorite places in the world is Silvana.
Silvana?
Yeah, it's a Brazilian meat spot. It's absurd. It's actually the first place I ever ate in Setúbal. Yeah, so okay. I probably shouldn't give that one away. So please don't ruin it. No, I'm just kidding. And yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of great places. In fact, I think our next show will be at União Setúbalins, which is where we had it last time.
Okay.
and Hugo Garrido will be bartending, and he'll be making great cocktails. So there's another spot. And then, of course, the classic everybody goes to is Machadish. That's Machadish is. We're at Casa de Cultura right now, so we're in Praça de Bocage. It's the next one over. I believe it's. I can't remember the name, but it's where that tree is.
Oh, over where the tree is.
Where the tree? No, where the tree is near. It's a big tree in the middle of a court.
Oh, okay.
Near Arco da Ribeiro.
Okay.
Ribeira. Yeah. So just Google Machadish. It's fine.
Machadish.
Yeah.
Okay, Machadish.
Arco da Ribeira.
Okay.
That's where all the cool kids hang out.
Oh, that's where the cool kids. I think I know where there's a little square.
Exactly.
I know. Yeah. But the statue with the fat lady, you have to walk through this tunnel.
The statue with the fat lady.
Yes. Now I know where it is. Statue with the fat lady. Now I know where it is. It's a very cozy atmosphere. Nice restaurants.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yes.
I'd be remiss. There's one more I have to mention,
sure.
and that is 74, where I met you.
Yes. 74.
Yeah. So the best Negroni in town.
74 forever.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I want to share with you a quote.
Okay.
And I'd like to get your feedback on it. All right. So this is not, I didn't invent the quote, unfortunately. It was from Pablo Picasso. So Pablo Picasso once said, "The meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away." So my question to you is, have you already discovered the gift that you want to share with the world? And if so, what is it?
I think so. I think it's one of those situations where, I mean, certainly, like if you're Picasso, the gift is to paint, right? But then, he gives a quote like that, and now, so his gift isn't just limited to painting, right? So I think we're continuously rediscovering, or we're being given new gifts. So I would like to think that I have discovered my gift. I mean, my whole life revolves around my voice. I don't want to just use my voice to sell biscuits for McDonald's. Shout out to McDonald's. I like it when you pay my bills, don't get me wrong. But I would like to use my voice to uplift certain people and certain ideas. So I would like to think that the gift that I have is the gift of song and the gift of my voice. And so I would like to give that out as much as possible in as positive a way as I can.
Of course. I mean, you're an artist, and your voice is your tool.
Yeah.
And you want to use your tool to, for me, an artist uses his tool or his gift, whatever that is, to bring a certain emotion to the people,
Right.
a emotion of love, or maybe of sadness, or maybe even an emotion of remembering something that maybe they forgot. It's about giving them something very, very, very valuable, I believe, because we are all emotional beings. So if you can give people with your unique gift a certain emotional experience, holy shit, you know, that's, to me, that is amazing.
Right.
So
it's an honor to be able to do it at all in any way, however small or
absolutely.
large.
Yeah, you don't need to be Steve Jobs or Oprah Winfrey to have that gift. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And for me, like, I don't want it to just. I'm happy to just stay in that lane, but I also want to challenge people to think a little bit, to, go a little deeper, and I'm mildly concerned about the state of the world, and I think if there's one thing I could do with my gifts, if it's to unite people in some sense, and because it seems that we're in a circular firing squad in our society, and I feel like we're picking the wrong enemies, and we're fighting over the wrong things, and we've got a lot of work to do as a world, as a species, getting people to sort of get over their being offended by certain things, and putting that energy, which is good energy to have, putting that energy in better places. But I don't know. That's it's. I would like to think that there's more gifts to come, and I want to give as much of them away as possible.
Of course. What do you do to I don't know. You said you wanted to challenge other people as well.
Right.
What do you do to challenge yourself? Because we came here to grow and to give. So the more you grow, the more you can give away from your gift. So what is it that you do to expand yourself more, to grow more, so that you can give more away of your gift?
Well, I try not to. I have strong opinions, but they're loosely held. So I try to change my mind as often as I can. And I try not to think that I'm right about things. I also have this tendency to share in private conversations, in my personal life, to share my opinions and thoughts about things. And I think I'm doing that less and less. And it's back to one challenge is, 2 ears, 1 mouth, right? Mm-hmm. So shutting up and listening more. Yeah. But really just trying my best to find whatever the truth may be, like whatever the topic. Trying not to, it seems like for a lot of people, especially on big, difficult issues, people sort of run a script that is out there. Like, I'm on this team or I'm on that team, and there's a script for that team, and I'm going to run it. You press a button, I run the script. And it's very easy to fall into that.
Yes.
So the challenge is to challenge your beliefs, and just for me personally, I try to challenge my own beliefs. I try to expand my perspective and try to look at things from perspectives that I disagree with as much as I can.
Yeah, because that's where the learning is done, right?
Right.
It's not in the things that you believe, but it's in the things that other people believe. What point are they trying to make? What do they actually believe? And where come their knowledge from? Perhaps they experienced something that we didn't, so we can learn from that.
Right.
After all,
Yeah, and it even extends, like, not just on big, tough issues, but with music. It's like my former drummer, Chaz Harris, he said something about drumming, like when people would go to his drum kit, some people are defensive, don't touch my drums, right? But he would love to see non-drummers or even kids go up on the drums. Like, how do they approach it not knowing anything? And what can I learn from someone who has never played the drums before when they pick up the sticks for the first time and they approach it in their own completely fresh way? So that extends, I think, to everything in life, is to just challenge your assumptions to a point. You don't want to go fall off the cliff, but yeah, I think it's healthy to really challenge yourself in everything that you do.
Yeah, I think so too.
In all your perspectives.
It's a great way to grow and to learn. Yeah, absolutely. So I have another quote for you. Happiness comes from solving problems, not avoiding them. And my question to you is, what is one of the challenges you are facing right now, and how do you deal with them?
That's a fun one. The challenge right now is breaking into the music business in a significant way. It's very difficult. I'm lucky enough to have paying gigs that I go to on a regular basis, and I'm very grateful for those gigs. But the challenge is breaking through to another level, and how I'm dealing with those challenges specifically, or what are the principles that I use for attacking challenges?
Both, yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to address the challenge of the music business. I'm building a great team. I think that's probably this. Maybe I can answer them both at once. The perspective of principles and the specifics. I don't know if there's anything that you can do that's worth doing that you can do by yourself. So even if you're a solo artist or you're an engineer doing code by yourself, you could rationalize a lot of different ways how you're going to do something on your own. But every single one of us is standing on the shoulders of giants. And even if you cut out your way in the world and doing everything alone. That's all great, but I mean, there's plumbers keeping you alive. You know, I mean, you could extrapolate it to as many places as you want, but for me personally, addressing these challenges, I think building a team is going to make all the difference.
Oh,
so, and that's making a big impact. I mean, we just released my first debut song, and I hired a label to help me with that. And I wouldn't be on the radio in nearly as many places if I hadn't done that, right? And the same is true. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons I got burnt out over the last 2 months, was just trying to do everything. And in doing that, you do everything poorly, and things get done, but not very effectively. So my challenge is breaking into the music business, and I'm still very much in the beginning of that. And my approach is to ask for help and to outsource it to people, because there's some things, like for example, I enjoy playing the drums, but it would be a joke if I tried to, play the drums live on stage, because that's not my thing. So I might write drum parts, I might be able to do it in the studio, but I have to have a drummer, So I think it's just getting the right people around you, and that's a really tough thing, is finding the right people.
Okay,
but
is it more challenging for you over here in Portugal than it would be in US?
As it relates to, I think whether it's management or it's the actual musicians, I think it's a little different, but there's fantastic people everywhere. So I don't think it's harder. There is a different mindset here, but it's almost a blessing in a way, because, the American mindset is very imperial in all that it does.
Imperial in what way?
Americans don't want to admit this, but imperial in that I'm going to build a business, I'm going to be a billionaire. I'm going to play music, I'm going to be a rock star.
Okay,
it's
big.
Everything. Yeah, everything is. The ambitions are huge, which I think is good.
Yeah, sure.
And I think Portugal has been through the whole empire thing in the last, millennia. And the society is a bit more mature here. So America has this young, just turned 20 energy, and Portugal has this, we've done that, and there were some horrible things that happened, whatever. But I don't want to characterize the entirety of all the Portuguese people by any means, but the mindset of, conquering, making your billions, all that kind of stuff, it is different here. And in some sense, it is a blessing because it keeps you grounded. And on the other hand, it's a blessing because there aren't a lot of people thinking with that American mindset. So, I can come in.
Competition is maybe a little bit less.
You could say that. Yeah. Again, I'm only competing with myself, people out there.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Even if it would be in the US,
Right.
Yeah.
But I do think, perhaps there's a billion different ways to slice it. But for me personally, I think it's easier here. Because in the U.S., I'm just another guy doing it. Here, it's just like if an Englishman goes to the city where my family is in the United States, he's got that mystique of it's an Englishman. Any kind of foreigner, you've got that thing. So I think that is an advantage that I have.
Yeah, you bring that to here.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I wouldn't change a thing.
I can imagine, because for me, when I look at the United States, it's like this, eat or be eaten kind of vibe going on.
Sure.
And over here, it's more laid back. And not necessarily, laid back, but it's more, there are more things to life than just making that billion or million or whatever.
Yeah.
You also have to enjoy life and, the food and the culture and whatever, the beaches, the great weather. And that's what I experience here as well, because even when I compare it to Holland, the energy is so different.
Right.
And Holland is definitely not the same as the US, but I can easily experience the difference of the energy of the people over here. People are much more enjoying life.
Yeah.
Whilst in Holland, it's like, it's the chase for the money.
Right. And sometimes it is a pain in the ass.
Oh, yes, that too.
But you get used
well.
to it, and it's like, I kind of like, you eventually, once you become accustomed to it, and then you go back to the other way, you're like, I don't know if this, burning myself to to the last little bit is really good for my soul. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the most important one, huh? The soul.
Balance is nice, though. Sometimes the laid back vibes can go a little far here, but I guess I prefer. I guess I prefer the laid back over the uptight.
I think so too. Yeah.
But if you bring a lot of ambition, I think there's a lot of opportunity here for ambitious people.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Although I often, of course, get laughed out of rooms or whatever. Not literally, but when I say I moved here to be a rock star, a movie star, and to get rich, people laugh at that because it's absurd. Like, why would you could go to LA, go wherever, but that's the fun part. Is it's like it doesn't make any sense. So that's me in a nutshell.
But
absurdism. Yeah,
but if you can blend in the two, if you can mix the two, the thing that you really want to do, doesn't matter. If you want to be an artist, why not do it in a more happy? I don't know. It's a different setting, different energy. The people are so open and it's beautiful.
And that is actually one of the reasons. One of the many reasons I came here was because there was a couple times I randomly got to get on stage while I was here visiting, and performed in front of a couple hundred people.
Cool.
With a funk band, Os Campotas. Shout out to Os Campotas. They're one of the best funk bands in Portugal.
Wow.
And they brought me up on stage, and the reaction from the crowd is just unlike anything I've had in the U.S.
Wow, really?
So, I mean, the U.S. crowds can be a lot of fun, but I do think people get into it. I think there's a reverence here for artists. I mean, the way that they venerate poets and all this, and the way that the Portuguese talk about their artists who are still alive, I think is really beautiful. And you don't get that the same in the United States, unless you're Miley Cyrus or something. But even then, there's plenty of baggage that comes with that.
Sure.
And here it seems a little bit healthier.
Yeah. Maybe so. Yeah.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Maybe so. Yeah. So I have another one for you. Okay. This is one of my personal favorites. That which you most need can be found where you least want to look. So my question to you is, what was a fear that you conquered in the past, and what did it bring you?
A fear. I only fear God, but really and truly. But I had a phobia of deep, dark water, and I love to swim. I love to swim in the ocean, but the first time I realized this, I was in Hawaii, and I was swimming out to a rock, and the water, you see the ground beneath you, and then it just drops off, and it's 100, 200 feet deep. And I just remember the physical reaction that I had. It wasn't debilitating, but it was like, and I realized, like, I thought I wasn't afraid of anything. So there you go, you're afraid of something. And I intentionally faced it here in Portugal, off of the coast of Arrábida near Cabo Especial. This friend of mine has a boat, and he knew I was a little crazy, so he dropped me off at one end of a cave, sailed around to the other, and said, you can swim through the cave and get to the other side. And the waves are going, and the water is, of course, incredibly deep. And I just repeatedly exposed myself to the situations, and it wasn't easy at first. I don't know if it was a clinical phobia because it didn't shut me down, but it was the closest thing to real fear that I had experienced and that I can ever remember. So I'm sorry, the question was the fear. No, I remember the quote.
Yeah.
It was, but what was the question?
What was a fear that you conquered in the past, and what did it bring you?
I think I've conquered it mostly because now I just go out and you still get that feeling when you're on the cliff's edge, even if you're not afraid of heights. Your body knows the danger. I'm still confronting it. I think I try to go out and swim into the depths, into the darkness. What it brought me, other than a better ability to swim, is a peace, I guess, a peace with unpredictability. And when you swim out and it's so deep, and you die, and you swim down into the depths, into the darkness, it's unpredictable, right? Anything could happen. In Portugal, thankfully, I didn't know this when I first started doing this. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize there's no sharks here. So, I mean, there's little blue sharks, but like, I didn't know that there weren't sharks. So that heightened the anxiety, right? But sharks are cool. Like, they get a bad rap, but they're actually pretty cool. But I think it gave me a peace with, I mean, if you think of it as an analogy, swimming into the darkness, into the unknown. It's and I've always been okay with that in my life, but it's very heightened in a physical situation like that. So I think it brought me a peace with uncertainty.
Okay.
If that makes
How
sense.
does that reflect on you being a rock star, or performing artist at least? I mean, you've been on the stage many, many times. Is there ever this feeling inside of you that, I don't want to call it fear, but this excitement?
Right, stage fright.
Yeah, stage fright maybe. Do you experience that still?
I don't really have stage fright. I do. I haven't gotten stage fright in a long time, and I'm usually so amped up and wired in those moments that it doesn't even occur to me. But there is uncertainty when you mess up, or when something bad happens. And I think that, of course, is anxiety provoking. Something goes wrong, something malfunctions, you play the wrong note. And I've tried to train myself over the years that if and when that occurs, to smile and lean into it, because most of the time nobody will notice except you, unless you freak out. And if you freak out, everybody notices, right?
Okay.
And there's this incredible story from Herbie Hancock, who was playing with Miles Davis. And Herbie Hancock was always a technology geek. Herbie Hancock is a piano player. And in the 60s, he had this little mobile recording setup, and he recorded all of his shows. And he was inside of his piano setting this up in the late 60s. And the band started playing, and he was inside of his piano. So he freaks out, and he had just started playing with Miles Davis. And so he starts playing in kind of a panic, and Miles is starting to solo. And then Herbie plays the wrong chord, which would mess up Miles' solo. And in that moment, of course, he shits himself like, I'm dead. Like, my life is over. I've just ruined Miles Davis's solo. My career is over. And Miles Davis, if you're familiar with the way that he looks, he's playing, and he just, like a little side eye. And Miles changed what he was playing to fit Herbie Hancock's chord. And they never spoke about it, but Herbie explained it like he didn't view. Of course, he knew that like it wasn't what was supposed to happen, but it happened. So he responded to it rather than reacting. He responded, and and it's just a matter of changing a note, right? And then, oh wait, it worked, and it's like nothing bad ever happened, right? Yeah. But I think that's an analogous for life as well, right? I mean, if you freak out and react, because bad things are gonna happen.
Definitely.
You could be the biggest, baddest rock star in the world. Something's gonna happen. You could be whatever it is that you do in life, and it's really, and I think you interviewed someone recently. You talked about Stoicism, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a fantastic. It's like an operating system, you know. We suffer so much more in our imagination than we do in reality. I think that was Seneca. I'm not sure. It was one of those dead bastards, but one of those brilliant dead people. But yeah, it's how you respond to things. And, if you're underwater swimming into the darkness and you freak out, you might drown. So staying calm in terrible situations, all that is essential, And so as it relates to stage fright and everything else, no, I don't get it, but I do get anxiety. I do get freaked out sometimes, stressed out, pissed off. And you just got to stay the course, keep going, and don't get too upset, channel that energy into solving things rather than, because you make things worse when you have that kind of meltdown or whatever. I remember years ago, it wasn't stage fright, it was everything going wrong. The band we were opening for put us on after them, which makes no sense. So the crowd left. And they were like, you can only play for 20 minutes. And, it was just, the whole night was a disaster. And one of the players got really drunk, was playing the wrong stuff. It was just everything imaginable went wrong.
Oh, wow.
And I got pissed off and stormed out of the building like a princess. And that was it wasn't stage fright, but it was like, okay, things are going wrong. How to make them worse? Storm out of the building, right? That was probably like the last time something like that happened. And then I realized in retrospect, like, I can't ever do something like that again. No matter who's drunk, no matter what happens, So I think I've had plenty. I don't mean to say this like I've never had stage fright. I've just been badass from day one. Like, no, I've had horrific experiences on stage.
Tell me your worst experience you had on stage.
That was probably it.
That was the one, yeah?
Yeah. That was. There was a couple other times where like I was low blood sugar, forgetting words type of situations. But no, I think that takes the cake. I mean, recently I've had rough experiences, but no, that was actually, it's at a legendary venue called the Double Door Inn. Eric Clapton showed up there to jam one time.
Oh, really?
It was this historic venue, really cool, old spot. It's in Charlotte, North Carolina, so of course they destroyed it and built condos there. But it was the only show I ever played there. And we went on after the headlining band. And yeah, it was just, but it was self-inflicted. So I had a giant computer. I had way too much stuff to set up. I'm setting up like we're playing Wembley or something, and we're, the opening band who's now closing too late. Everybody leaves. But even with everything bad that happened, all those things not being my fault, it was still, at the end of the day, it was still my fault. And so storming off stage like a princess, yeah, that's probably the worst experience I've ever had.
Yeah, personal leadership. You're always responsible.
Absolutely,
always,
100%.
Okay.
And that was a huge lesson. But it's I wouldn't change it because it's a great learning experience.
Yeah, of course. So what was your best experience on stage ever?
The best experience on stage ever. It was probably, that's hard. But it was probably that show that you saw at Union Stubelines.
Oh, really? Yeah?
Yeah, June 18th. Again, nightmare of an audio situation, lots of things going wrong. But the people showed up, and that's what mattered. To get a room full of people dancing. Not that everybody was dancing. I know who you are. No, I'm just teasing. But yeah, I mean, it's just incredible to have that kind of support. And I've never been supported like that in any city. And so for it to be here, is it's really meaningful for me personally.
Sure, yeah.
And of course, it's not just about, hey, show up and see me sing. Like, I hope that it's a great night for everybody who comes, you know. And it felt like that's what it was. With the mistakes, with the sound issue, all these things considered, that was probably the best, because it was the first show with that band, with this incarnation of what I'm doing. And, you know, yeah, I mean, that's an incredible feeling.
Yeah, I can imagine, because the energy was really good. People dancing, people having fun. You were getting people on stage to play their instruments. You were walking around through the crowds and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the energy was vibrant. So that was a great show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, but the best are definitely ahead.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah,
always.
yeah,
Always. Yeah. So how is your song going, Boogie?
Oh, well, it released on June 10th. And it's going okay. I mean, for a first release, it's fantastic. I mean, we're in radio in Australia, Austria, Belgium, Portugal. You know, we're getting featured on, I think, Jamendo and different playlists and stuff like that. So I know it's been listened to tens of thousands of times.
Oh, great.
So that's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a good start. And people seem to like it, so that's good.
Catchy. It's very catchy.
Yeah. It's not. I mean, I've always been very eclectic in my songwriting, but yeah, this is about as poppy as I get. So, but yeah, it's going well. I mean, but the thing is, with songs, this is just the beginning. You know, I mean, it can take 2-3 years to turn a song into a hit. Okay. So it's just like I feel like I'm at, you know, 5% of the journey of this song. Okay. So it's going to take a lot of work to really drive it home.
Okay. So you have some new gigs coming up over here in Setubal, or?
Yeah, I wish I had a date to announce, but I'm still waiting on confirmation. So sometime in September, probably by the time that you put this up, I can give you a date if you want to put it in the link or whatever. But yeah, so we'll be back at União Setubalines probably in September. Okay. And it's all a lot of probablys right now. So, but I don't want to say anything I don't want to talk out of school, but we're going to do some pretty wild things.
Cool.
For the rest of the year, and really focused on Setubal and bringing the party to Setubal.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah. Definitely. Setubal is open to party, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I got some other questions for you.
Okay.
And actually, you get a chance to pick them. It's pick a number between 1 and 46.
1 and 9.
Number 9. All right, here we go. Okay. If I would call up your friends and ask them what your superpower is, what would they answer?
Man, these type of questions are impossible for me, because I hate to speak for other people. My superpower is probably bridging the divide.
Bridging the divide?
Yeah, like getting people who otherwise would never hang out to be friends. So I guess I'm the diplomat.
Diplomat?
Yeah, of some sort. I don't know. Again, I hate speaking for other people, because, you know, it's like my friends could probably all rage and protest. None of us would say that. Well, I have no idea what they would say. But my guess would be, yeah, I have a very diverse set of people in my life. And I can reach out and bring people who would otherwise never be together.
Okay.
And I love doing that. It's a lot of fun.
People.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I think that's what that, or, you know, the easy one is like, oh, he's got the Rolls Royce of bass voices or something.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever.
But the deep voice.
Yeah.
The Barry White voice.
That's right, baby.
Yeah. All right. So pick another number.
29.
29. Okay. Who was the most inspiring person you ever met?
Ooh, met personally? That's hard. Personally met. I'm going to try to give you not such a cheap answer, like, you know, God or my dad or whatever. And my dad is really cool. The most inspiring person I ever met. Oh, this is really difficult, man. I'm picking. You know what's funny? This is kind of out of the blue. I met Chamillionaire.
Who?
Chamillionaire in San Francisco. He's a rapper from, I believe he's from Houston. He had a huge hit. It's that song, "They see me rolling, they hating," whatever. Okay. He had this huge hit. But the thing that's inspiring about him is, he had this massive commercial success as a rapper on the radio. And he, instead of blowing it on a bunch of things, he became an investor. And now he's like famous for investing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, but I met him, and he was having a meeting and I guess now people approach him not because he's a famous rapper, but because they want money for their companies.
Oh, wow.
So I approached him to talk to him at a cafe in San Francisco, and he thought I was pitching a company. Oh. He's like, "What do you want to talk about?" I was like, "Music." And he's like, "Oh, okay, I'll talk to you about that." Mm-hmm. And I showed him a song that was unreleased at the time from my old band Trismalux in the US. And he was like, "Okay, the song is good. Like, you don't need me to tell you that. Like, that it's good. So what?" And I was like, "Well, and his advice to me was, one, like, look, I'm not going to sign you to a record deal or something, because I can't. Mm-hmm. I've tried with other people and it doesn't work. Like, all they care about is numbers. If you've already got the numbers, they'll sign you. If you don't, they won't." So my opinion, his opinion as mm-hmm. that artist, doesn't matter to, like, he basically told me, "I can't change your life." Right. Mm-hmm. But he said, he asked, I told him the story about the song. And he said, "That's what you need to sell, is where this song came from. And that's what people want to hear, is where, what's your story?"
The story behind the song.
Right. So he was inspiring in the sense that, okay, I'm standing with a guy who has huge success in the music business, who then leveraged that success to have great financial success in a completely unrelated field. That's inspiring unto itself. Yeah. But then to tell me, nobody's going to do this for you. Like, you are the only one that's going to make this happen. There's not some magical meeting. You're not going to bump into somebody. "Oh, you're great." I mean, it happens, but
rarely.
Yeah, so I think, just off the top of my head, he's probably one of the more inspiring people. Shout out to Chamillionaire. Shout out to Cam.
Shout out to Cam. If it is to be, it is up to me. Yeah. So the other person you mentioned is your father.
Yeah.
How so?
Man, my dad is sort of the embodiment of the American dream, I guess, in some sense.
He's still alive?
Yes, thank God. Mm-hmm. He grew up unbelievably poor, and I'll go scarce on the details, but he grew up in a very tough environment, really tough. The kind of thing that most people can't come back from. And, he, we're talking violence, physical abuse, that kind of stuff. So for him to come out of that level of poverty, and then he joined the Navy, he did the whole thing, but he just is probably one of the hardest working people I'll ever know. I mean, he's just unbelievable. He can build a house from the absolute dirt to the roof, everything, electrical, plumbing, carpentry, pouring the concrete. I mean, the guy is just unbelievable. Wow. With building, and he's brilliant. I mean, he's a master electrician, but he was able to build a life. I mean, a decent life. I mean, he had me. I have two brothers, and we never were in in want, essentially. And there's a long, it's a long story, but he went through some horrific construction accidents that could have easily killed him. And he was completely mistreated by the system. I mean, he should have had millions of dollars from payouts, but he didn't get anything. And he worked through the pain. And he had spinal fluid trapped in his brain for 5 years.
Damn.
And he worked through it. He's just one of the toughest bastards you'll ever meet, right? And so that put a big strain on the family. My family broke up for a while. It's a long thing. And that had a huge impact on my life because I was like 13 at the time. So I was sort of, blowing in the wind at 13. And that had a huge impact on who I became. But I wouldn't change it. It was tough, but eventually my dad found the right surgery, got the spinal fluid drained, relieved him of unimaginable pain. But the thing is, he was working construction while he was in just debilitating pain.
Unbelievable.
So, it was a tough thing. Excuse me. Got a little dry there. He's inspiring because, the odds are just insurmountable. To grow up in poverty like that, to build an incredible life for your family, and then to go through these horrific accidents and to just keep working through it. It's incredibly inspiring. I mean, his work ethic is just unbelievable. I mean, we joke now because he's finally started his own company. He's finally making the money that he deserves. But my mom and I joke like, oh, Dad, he's not home yet because when he gets off of his, 60, 70 hour work week, he's in his 60s now. He's still working like that. Then he's like going to build houses for people for the church, or he goes to church and he's fixing stuff at the church. And it's like, oh, is Dad home? I call my mom, is Dad home yet? Like, no, he's not. Oh, he must be helping an old lady cross the road after his 12-hour shift. He's just, wow. Yeah. He's incredibly giving. And, that work ethic and, he's a hell of a man. And I'm very, very lucky to have come up like that, So I got the best of both worlds, I got the hard knocks because of the hardship and but then I also had the great foundation of having
the work ethics and then also the giving.
Right.
Yeah, that's a nice blend, definitely. It's a very, very, very inspiring.
And he gave me the haircut too,
Oh, too, yeah. The baldies. Yeah. Well, bald is in, right?
Yes, sir.
So, last question for you. Choose wisely.
Oh, from the numbers.
Yeah.
Oh man, 3.
3. Okay, let's see what number 3 is. Ooh. What was the best day of your life, and what was the darkest day of your life?
The best day of my life. Oh man. These are hard, man. These are all difficult. The best day of my life. Well, I'm going to give you the corny philosophical answer, which is today. Because every day is a blessing, and all we have is now, right? The best day in my life. Man, that's so hard. It's like choosing your favorite kid. I feel it was that show, You and Stoicism, the show that you were at. That was the best day of my life so far. Yeah. Just because it was the beginning of what I've always wanted to do. And it felt like, oh, this is possible. So that was the best day of my life.
Okay.
Thus far. Of course, there's like 20 other days that are screaming at me, but whatever. And the darkest The darkest day of my life. Plenty of those. Oh man, I don't know if I want to.
So many to choose from.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just again. I'll try to be scarce on the details, but I got violently beaten by a big group of people when I was like 15.
Really? Yeah.
It was very extreme. And when I went back to school the next day, they had turned everyone against me, basically. And everyone told me that I got what I deserved. And it basically was the catalyst for me dropping out of school when I was 15. So I don't know. Again, hard to pick, but that was a pretty low point. And there were plenty of other terrible things that have happened. But yeah, that was pretty hard. And leaving out the details of that. Yeah, it was essentially. Yeah, it's like the world turns against you, right? But again, something I wouldn't change.
Made you who you are.
Right. And it also made me confront violence in the sense that, like, oh, okay, I can survive extreme violence. So it definitely. There's a few things. There's the rituals that people have for becoming a man or whatever, and or a woman. And certainly you don't choose them, but that was one. That was a huge turning point, and it completely changed my life for the better. I think. I mean, I didn't finish high school, so that probably would have been good for me to get official education, but it was hard, and I didn't want to see any of those people ever again, and so no high school reunions for me. But yeah, so that was probably the darkest that I can share.
Yeah, it's interesting how those big things. If they didn't happen, then your life would probably be, or maybe even be completely different. Because you would have finished high school, and what path would you have been walking then?
Right. I would probably be in finance or something, and like doing some horrible,
boring, soul devastating, shit.
Shout out to the finance people, push through, baby. We believe in you.
Yeah. Only 30 more years.
yeah. Only 7 more economies to crash.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Also, but I think we need those dark days. I think we need to spend some time in the darkness.
Yeah.
I mean, I had my share as well, but it was not nice to have that experience. But in the end, it was needed to get you where you are now. For some reason, because it brought you where we are now, and like you said, we only have this moment. That's all there is.
Yeah, I mean, one classic example for just in my life, the pandemic, right? Generally, we could all view that as something that should not have happened. That was bad for the world, and that's a whole 7-part podcast. But I met. I don't know if I can blame it on the pandemic, but I met Federica Gallus in that time, and without her, I wouldn't be doing any of these gigs. I wouldn't have half of the income that I have. I mean, she basically employed me as a musician and turned me into a professional musician.
Wow.
Right? So from the darkness comes the light, right? And you and so shout out to Federica for giving me a music career in Portugal. she's incredible. Go check her out. She's got music on Spotify.
I met her last week.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
You're gonna have her on, right?
Yeah. She's gonna be in my podcast.
Great.
Well. She's great. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I don't know who said it originally, but in order for your branches to reach to heaven, your roots have to reach into hell.
Yes, I know that quote. I don't know who said it, but I know it. Yeah. That's beautiful. So we have come to the end of our podcast, of our interview. Are there any last words you would like to share?
Mind over matter and soul before flesh.
Mind over matter and soul before flesh.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's from Mos Def. That's off of his album, Black on Both Sides.
Okay.
Mind over matter. Your circumstances do not control you. You cannot be conquered. A prison cell does not take away your freedom. You allow your freedom to be taken away, right? Soul before flesh. Don't pick your partner just because they're sexy. Pick them because they enrich your soul. And that's not just partner. That's profession. That's purpose. That's calling. Mind over matter and soul before flesh.
The people in your life. Yeah, choose wisely.
Yeah. So, and it's... Money's great. Make all the money. Have a beautiful partner. Have a nice place. All those things are fantastic. I don't mean to demean them at all. But strip them all away, and what do you have? At the end of the day, you're alone in this world, right? You can't carry people with you into the next life, and so on. So, choose. Your time is incredibly brief, so choose it wisely. And there's a lyric on a song I'm going to be releasing soon, which is like, you got to keep that money coming in. Got to keep it coming in. Got to keep that money coming in. Oops, we forgot to tell you, money can't buy you time. Is all that you need to know is that your time here is brief.
Yeah.
So keep that money coming in, but don't let that rule your life.
The most valuable currency is time, not money.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
But brother, thank you again.
Yes, sir.
It's great talking to you again. Nice setting as well.
Yeah, we're at Casa de Cultura in Setúbal, Portugal, and this is Unleash the Hero Within.
So it was. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks. Thank you again for watching or listening to this. Got many inspiring guests coming up, so don't go anywhere. Thanks again for listening, watching. See you in the next episode. Much love.
Love you,
Bye-bye.
baby. I love you all equally in very different ways.
Okay.